One of the most important things that I think all bartenders, either professional or home, should understand is the foundational recipes. Welcome to the Cocktail Spirit from Small Screen Network. I'm your host, Robert Hess. We're doing a set of episodes where we're showing people how they might be able to improve their skills at bartending or understand better the basics, techniques, recipes, and ingredients that bartenders need to know. In this episode, I want to talk about the foundational recipes. Now, things like the Manhattan, the Daiquiri, the Old Fashioned, the Sazerac, the Margarita, even things like the Mai Tai and the Bloody Mary can be thought of as being these classic recipes of which you can build drinks on top of. By understanding the classic recipes, knowing how to make great classic recipes, and understanding why the different parts of those recipes work properly will allow you to understand the mechanics of building a cocktail that allow you to create your own recipes. I've met bartenders, professional and amateur, that try making their own recipes and they don't understand the foundations yet, and so they're making basically all of the mistakes that bartenders were making hundreds of years ago before they really understood cocktails. Why do those mistakes over and over again? Learn the foundational recipes. Stand on the shoulders of the bartenders that have come before you, understanding their recipes, and then you can be capable of starting to make your own recipes. Let's take a look at a recipe that I created based upon a foundational recipe. The Negroni is a great recipe. It's an easy recipe to make. Campari, gin, and sweet vermouth. Very standard, very simple, equal parts. Some people actually make it with slightly more gin in order to take and add that robustness in there. A lot will depend upon what gin you're using too. If you're using a softer gin, you're going to need to use more gin in it. And part of that is adjusting the recipes to use the ingredients you have on hand that you're wanting to use in it. But I wanted to start with the classic Negroni. I early on liked to use slightly obscure products. I enjoyed finding those weird products in the liquor store that hadn't been around for a long time. Campari was fairly common, but its kind of cousin product, Cynar, was very uncommon, and I found that to be very interesting, a little bit softer than Campari. So if you find Campari too strong, Cynar is going to be a little bit softer for you. I also was enjoying aquavit, which aquavit is a gin sort of product, so it's like a alcohol that you're adding spices and herbs to, but rather than being juniper forward, it's usually caraway forward. So it's got a different flavor profile to it too. And as well, at the time when I was first learning cocktails, Angostura bitters was about the only bitters you could have. And then another company came out with peach bitters, which hadn't been around for an awful long time. And there weren't that many recipes that called for peach bitters. And I wanted to take and try to use something with peach bitters. And so I played around quite a bit. And eventually I came out with a drink I like to call the Trident. Let's see how to make it. Now again, we're starting out with our base spirit is going to be aquavit, again a caraway flavored. If you have never tried aquavit, it's very interesting. As a matter of fact, I like making Negronis with aquavit instead of gin. I find it very interesting flavor. I think the caraway works better with Campari sometimes than the juniper does. We're going to add 1 ounce of aquavit. And then we're going to add 1 ounce of Cynar. Cynar, on the label, there's an artichoke sitting here. That's because it's made with artichokes. It's got a whole bunch of other stuff in it too. But if you think about artichokes when you're trying it neat, you can kind of taste that artichoke flavor back in there. And then in place of the sweet vermouth that a Negroni is going to have, I'm going to use a sherry. In this case, I'm using an Amontillado sherry. You can play around with different sherries, see which ones you like. This is kind of a drier, woodier sort of flavor to it that I think works really well here. And then I'm going to add a dash of peach bitters. These dashers not working well, so pay attention when you're using a dasher to see how much comes out and get comfortable with how much is supposed to come out. And if you don't see quite enough, make sure you just get a little bit more in there. And then I'm going to add a slight twist on this drink. Originally, the only bitters I was using was peach bitters. At the Pegu Club in New York, they were making my drink and they decided to use their house orange bitters. And so I'm going to add some of that to this drink as well. So we basically now have a drink that is based upon the Negroni, but it's using all different ingredients. And so you kind of understand it's got the same foundation quality that the Negroni is going to have, so you can almost taste what this drink is going to taste like. It's just going to be slightly different because it's using slightly different products. So let's go ahead and stir this up. And so even from the standpoint of stirring this drink rather than shaking, that also is being based upon the classic recipes. By understanding why the Manhattan is stirred rather than shaking, you're going to understand why this drink should be stirred rather than shaken as well. And just add a lemon twist on the top. And here we have the Trident, a drink I was able to create by understanding the foundational recipes. It's my secret to making great cocktails, and it can be yours too.